Welcome to another episode of the Candy Talk here on Herman Manyora's YouTube channel. My name is Evan Sokini. It's such a pleasure to have you on board. Of course, welcome to Kenya's most comprehensive political analysis show. I'm joined here this morning by Professor Herman Manyora. How are you, sir?
Wonderful.
We are back and we are looking at the country right now, how things are taking place. And the big question right now, the big conversation going around is Ruto at one. Definitely a number of Kenyans are trying to look at the progress that the Kenya Kwanza administration has made with regards to its strides in development and all that. You've seen a number of people come on board to criticize and give in their views. There in opinion polls are also weighing on in this conversation, giving out their estimates. So of course, the pollsters released their results, and of course, I've seen the government given some thought of I've seen some polls indicating that at least 50% of the country believes that the country is headed to the right direction. And I also saw the deputy president given some sort of a D and the president given a C. I wonder how all that goes in. But then for you, Prof, Kenya at one, give me your honest assessment of Kenya Kwanza administration 1 year down the line.
I've been asked this question, as you would expect, by many people, media houses, local and international. My answer has been very simple.
Yes.
First, we thank God that we are still a country. Our ship is still floating. It hasn't sunk. For this, we must thank the president for putting the country together despite all the challenges. Things are still normal, you know. And when you tell Kenyans things are normal, they don't understand. They take it for granted. When things go bad, their public servants, civil servants don't even earn salaries. Some countries, to get even to the military, they don't have salaries. So in other words, things are still okay, we are floating. So we must thank God and thank the president for keeping the country together. In terms of whether the country is happy with the way things are going, the answer is out there, everybody knows no. It doesn't even have to be an opinion poll. Many people believe the country is heading in the wrong direction. 1 year later, the government is still engaged in complaints, finger pointing, blaming Uhuru and Raila, sort of working. And as a teacher, I can tell you, D and C are not very good grades. A C student is basically a student who just failed, but the examiner fails. Give them a lifeline to move to the next stage. But so, if government is scoring C and the president is scoring C and the deputy D, you can see they are not doing very well. You don't even need to believe in the polls, because I know Kenyans dismiss polls. I too sometimes dismiss them. But just looking around generally, there's nothing to inspire confidence and hope in the people. Things are not going well.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate the performance of Kenya Kwanza?
I'll give them about 3 or 4, maximum 4.
Okay.
Just for effort. Yeah.
For the effort that has been, the civil society has been very vocal, and they came out and aired their views, and they've said that for them 1 year down the line, they do not have anything to celebrate and be happy about in this country. One, they're lamenting about the withdrawal of high-profile cases. We saw that take place within this same administration. They're decrying a number of things, and they're actually saying that the government has not done well. What would you make of their sentiments regarding the withdrawal of those cases that we witnessed take place earlier on, especially the time that the president was coming into power?
Of course, you never go into the details. But what is the perception? The perception is that it wasn't good. Many people believe the cases were not withdrawn on the basis of merit or demerit, whichever you choose, but simply on account of the fact that the high-profile fellows involved were associates of the president, and that he was bringing his power to bear on the cases and have them withdrawn. That's the perception in the country. But what is of concern is that a number of these fellows were not only let off the hook, but were given high-profile appointments. That's really frightening. Because you see, the president and other people in government ought to know perception is important. It's not the reality. It will be very difficult to convince people that a man accused of tax evasion and all manner of other things, will not only have his cases withdrawn, but that will be put at the helm of the tax body, collection body. Nobody will believe that. Yeah. People have talked about Caesar's wife. Must be beyond reproach. Mere suspicion is enough to have Caesar have issues with the wife. Mere suspicion. And that's how public work. That's why these developed countries are ahead of us. They know it. They know it's public confidence that is born out of public perception is very, very critical and very, very important. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, that aside, talk to me about how the government actually handled the opposition in terms of the demonstrations that we had. Remember, this is a year that was rocked by a lot of demonstrations and violence therein. Actually, if you look at how the president and the entire Kenya Kwanza government handled the opposition protest, would you say that perhaps we are on the right track with regards to handling such kind of things, even if they're up right now?
You know, when people ask me, all of this week actually, what would Ruto do to make things good for him and good for the country? Put another way, if he hasn't performed well, what is it he could have done to have performed well? And I tell them the answer is very simple. The economy is hurting. The cost of living is terrible. People are suffering. There's pain all over the country. And that's why Raila was able to get all those people in the streets. Not just because of a stolen election, but because of an empty stomach. So you need to fix that. But in order to fix that, you need an ecosystem. And the politics creates for you an environment in which you can fix the economy. So your question is relevant to this in the sense that the president ought to fix the politics of the country. Once you fix the politics, it gives you room and space and support to deal with the economy. You get it? So the way he handled the protests, which in my view is the way he handled the politics, is the source of all these problems we are seeing. Yes.
Finally, let's have this conversation on the cost of living. This has been a major concern for the country at large. But then I've seen a lot of sentiments being made by leaders across the political divide. But I'm more interested on what those in government are actually saying, because at the end of the day, they bear the heaviest responsibility herein. We've got a number of CSs, the likes of Honorable Moses Kuria, definitely the one for trade and industries therein, talking about the cost of living being low. They're saying that they've actually worked and the economy is stable. I saw that kind of difference take place therein when he was being interviewed on Citizen TV, and that kind of clash between the prices of the edible oils, even the oils that we use in the supermarket. I was surprised that the CAs does not actually know exactly the price of oils in the supermarkets. And then, leave alone that, there is the Nandi Senator, Senator Cherargei, who actually said that within this 1 year, President Ruto has done more than what the other presidents in the past have done. I wonder whether you agree with those sentiments.
He says, if you put together what Kenyatta, Moi, Kibaki, and the colonial administration have
definitely, that is what he says.
He has done more than them combined, which is perhaps is correct. But you see, again, there are two simple ways of measuring whether the economy is doing well. You just look at the people in the streets. Are they happy? Are Kenyans happy? That you can capture in an opinion poll and even by mere observation. But if you look around, people are not happy. People are complaining on social media everywhere. But that is subjective. The second measure is an objective measure. You just go to the stock exchange and ask yourself, how is it doing? Let Moses Kuria, Cherargei, go on the stock exchange. Yeah, securities. Let them go and check. The next one is the dollar. Look at the dollar versus the shilling. These are not things, this is not subjective, this is not fiction. This is just reality. If you want to know whether the economy is doing well, yeah.
Prof, this begs a lot of questions. Why is it that our members, okay, our leaders, per se, are actually aware of what is in the ground, what is taking place, but then they insist that everything is okay, yet they know the reality?
You know, our politics is not designed to have people stand for anything. So, since politicians do not have anything to fight for, to defend, or to oppose, they are left with only one thing: loyalty. To defend the man at the top. Not anything anybody stands for, no. You defend the president because he's a Kalenjin. If you are a general gay like you defend him because he's a Kalenjin like you. So if Musalia becomes president, Manyora will defend and support him because he's a Luya like him. Because there's nothing else Mudavadi will be standing for, Ruto stands for, anybody stands for. Nobody stands for anything. You see, when the Democrats support Biden, it is not the person they are supporting. They are supporting certain values. A certain America they think they must defend at all costs. You know? America of civil liberties. Which if they are not careful, if you have somebody from the Republican, if they reign for 20 years, becoming president, there are certain civil liberties Americans may lose. So the democracy will be defending that tough. The Republicans, on the other hand, believe the less government, the better. And they believe in certain core values, the family, and so on and so forth. You know, small government, core values, you know, they are conservative in nature, and they are willing to fight for that. So when you see them defending the president, it is not the man they are defending. They are defending that which they believe in. You got the UK the same. There are issues that can divide the country. There are issues over which people have very serious opinion, even beliefs. And parties represent this. So we don't have any of those things. There's nothing Ruto stands for that Mudavadi doesn't stand for. There's nothing Kalonzo stands for that Jimmy Wanjigi or whoever else doesn't stand for. All our politicians. They're the same. So what they are left with is to defend the person. So they defend the president for their own cheap, selfish interests. But the reason why our politicians defend the president, or their party leader for that matter, other than their own survival in terms of being elected, where the president or the party leader is strong, is they also get small little benefits to go to their stomachs. Because in the absence of something you stand for, then you can go for anything. Okay. And that's why I was tweeting yesterday and wondering the other day, is it really possible Parliament today as we sit here, is it really feasible? Is it something you can even imagine that Parliament will be debating another bill to introduce taxes? 3 or so new taxes. Is it something you can even allow your mind to imagine? And yet our MPs are going to discuss a bill to introduce 2 or 3 new taxes. That's where the problem is.
Finally, Prof, talk to me about this. When the president came on board, we had a lot of challenges, especially in the Ministry of Education with regards to the competence-based curriculum that was just been left at some sort of stage with the former administration. He said that he'll tackle it. Right now, looking back at what the president has done, what this administration has done, are you convinced that with regards to the reforms that we've seen in the education sector, ranging from the CBC and even the education, the new funding model that is now somehow amorphous to a number of Kenyans here, would you say that the country is on the right track in the side of education?
Which track? Leave alone being on the right track. We are not on any track. We are just in the forest. As matters education, we are not on any track.
Come on, be fair.
Which one? What is it? It's all useless. It's rubbish, actually. And you see, Africa has everything now going for it. And then Africa is going to be on top of the world. It's not anything you can stop. So the West is aware of that. And they know the last thing they can use to stop us from being on top of the world, we as Africans, is to kill our education. And they are busy moving across Africa and killing education. Whatever little of education there was is killing. This CBC is the final nail in the coffin of education in this country. There will be no education. It's finished. Look at the university. How can a poor country like this be discussing funding at the university? We are doing what rich nations do.
Okay.
A country like this cannot afford to charge fees to university students. Kenya cannot afford to charge university fees for university education. The socioeconomic status of this country, the poverty levels in this country, where we have university students being admitted, and they don't have problem with fees or something like that. No. They have problem even just traveling from Kisii to Nairobi where they have been admitted. In a country like that, how can you have a university education being charged? Kenya can only be serious about education if they have free quality education. Even as we figured out how we shall do it at the basic level, university education ought to be free from yesterday, not today, certainly not tomorrow. I will only listen to government or anybody from government if we are discussing what are the modalities of this free university education. That's the table I'll join for discussion. Any other table I'll not join. It's rubbish, stupid. A country like this cannot afford to charge students at university because you're going to lock out a lot of students. I am a university teacher and I can tell you there's no education at the university already. We are now making a bad situation worse.
Okay.
A class of 100, unless the lecturer is strict or by the nature of the course like medicine, what have you, they must be there. Or like you are a dentist doing dentistry. Your chair cannot be afforded to, the people, everybody will notice. The rest don't come to class. Why? They are busy chasing survival. This country must not only give students free education, they must feed them at the university. And stop listening to the nonsense from IMF, which came in the 1990s, that don't give students free education. Don't feed them. No. If Kenyans can't feed themselves by their own statistics, government statistics, World Bank statistics, by those official statistics, a staggering number of Kenyans go to bed hungry. Almost 50% of Kenyans live below the poverty line. By their own statistics, how can a country like that charge students to go to university? You give it free. Because if you want to say, oh, like this one, oh, it is, you will pay, but you'll be given bursary or scholarship, and we know this country. Even before you get to give that student the bursary or the scholarship, that student has a problem traveling from Luombe to come to Nairobi. And then there's a question of where they stay. I don't know whether you get what I'm saying.
I do get you quite
You see how complicated it is? So we need, in fact, we are trying to be more capitalistic than the capitalists themselves. The home of capitalism is not as useless as we are in this country. Let's have free education for university students. Let counties even organize pool transport. Let them talk with universities and let them open similar dates. You zone universities. Universities in Western Kenya, Maseno, Jost, Must, Kebabi, they are opening on a certain date, all of them. And the counties of Machakos, Kwale, Mombasa, whatever, can organize pool transport. Students going into Western Kenya to universities, come, ingia bus, enda msome. The same in Central, Nairobi, KU, where this tuk-tuk, whatever you call it.
Okay.
They open on a same date. Governor of Kakamega, Bungoma, Kitale, and the rest, they organize students, give them buses. If one bus is not full from Vihiga, the Kakamega ones join, or Busia, you bring them Nairobi. This is the only way we can promote education. But discussing to me about funding and about anything else, I'm not boarding.
We're winding up. What was promised versus what is delivered? Give the president a grade.
A grade. D.
Well, It's a D for the president. That is from Professor Herman Manyora here, ladies and gentlemen.
Not, you are saying what was promised?
Versus what has been delivered.
D. But overall score, C.
Overall score C.
Yes.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, that is it from Professor Herman Manyora here. Definitely, you can weigh in on this conversation and tell us what you think about the progress and the strides that the Kenya Kwanza administration has actually made 1 year down the line. How has life been for you? Do you think that the government and the country at large is on the right track and we are headed in the right direction? Please stay tuned to some of our conversations that will be coming up next. Of course, Richard Mwinje is always here, as well as Jerel Kabiro. This is a production of Nairobi Review. Thank you for watching. My name is Evans Okenyi.